to Gentleman of Verona by A.J. Cronin. Two Gentlemen of Verona is a heartwarming story of human relationships and family ties. In the story set in Italy against the backdrop of the Second World War, the two gentlemen of Verona, the brothers Nicola and Jacopo, take care of their sister Lucia, who is suffering from tuberculosis. The boys are poor and wear shabby clothes. Their father was a famous singer and a hard worker who had died in the war. The boys willingly take on the responsibility of providing for their ailing sister in the absence of their father. While driving through the foothills of Alps to Verona, the narrator was stopped by two small boys selling wild strawberries. The boys were dressed shabbily in old clothes that were too large for them. The two were dark-skinned and thin, with tangled hair and dark eyes, which had a serious expression. Though their driver tried to dissuade them from buying the strawberries, the narrator and his companion bought the biggest basket the boys had for sale because they were attracted to them. The boys were brothers. Nicola, the elder, was actually 13, and Jacopo, the younger one, was nearly 12. The next morning, the narrator found the two brothers shining shoes outside their hotel. The boys told him that, besides picking fruit and shining shoes, the two boys also worked as tour guides. As the boys showed the narrator and his companion around the town, he noticed the boys were childish and innocent. But even though Jacopo was lively and Nicola had a charming smile, both the boys appeared to be very serious. He could understand that something was behind them, something was disturbing them. During the week, the narrator and his companion spent in Verona, and they often saw the boys who were always ready to do chores for the two men. Anything they wanted to do, they were ready to do for them. One night, they were surprised to see the boys in the windy and deserted square, resting on the stone pavement beneath the lights. It was nearly midnight, and though he looked tired, Nicola sat upright while Jacopo slept with his head resting on his brother's shoulder. They were waiting for the last bus from Padua so that they could sell the newspapers. See, at that particular midnight time, these people are sitting. So it shows that these boys were working both in daytime as well as in nighttime. The narrator was surprised at how hard the boys worked, and when he questioned Nicola about it the next morning, he looked ashamed and tongue-tied. Actually, the narrator presumed the boys worked so hard and spent frugally as they were saving up to emigrate to America. The narrator thought, these people are working so hard and they're not spending money, and they had the plan of going away to America. Nicola expressed a desire to go to the States, but said they had plans in Italy at the moment. Actually, yes, we have the desire to go for going to America, but at present we have some work in Italy. The narrator then offered help before he left for the United States on the following Monday. Actually, he wanted to help them, and he said, if you need any help, I would help you all before I leave to United States the following Monday. So Nicola declined the offer, but Jacopo readily took him up on it and asked him if they could go to Poletta, 30 kilometers from Verona, in the narrator's car. So one thing you can do for us is, can you take us to Verona in your car? This is the only thing Jacopo asked. The narrator readily agreed to drive the boys there himself. So he assured Nicola, who appeared to be angry with his brother, that it wouldn't be any trouble to do so. So he said, Nicola, don't worry, because he knew that he was not happy, taking help from anybody. So the narrator said, no, don't worry. It is not a trouble for me to for taking you people there. So I will drop you all at Poletta, he says. The following afternoon they drove to the tiny village set high upon the hillside. Poletta, Jacopo directed him to a large red-roofed villa surrounded by a high stone wall. As soon as the car came to a halt, the two boys jumped out and telling the narrator they would be back in an hour, they entered the villa. So when they drove near the village, they near the hillside, the boys, asked the narrator to just be waiting there for 1 hour and then be back with. After a few minutes, the narrator followed the boys inside. When he rang the bell, a nurse opened the door. He asked her about the two boys. She led the narrator through the hospital and stopped near the door of a little beside. Through the glass partition, the narrator saw the boy sitting next to a girl of about 20 who sat propped up on pillows, listening to their chatter, her eyes soft and tender. So we could see her, they were sitting and talking with the girl. He realized at once she was a sister from their resemblance to one another. So he could see them. By seeing that, he understood that she must be the boy's sister. The nurse, the nurse told him that the children who had lost their mother earlier lost their father in the war. He had been a well-known singer, actually, his father. So shortly afterwards, a bomb had destroyed their home also. So what happened? They had to be without home. They were homeless. As a result, the three children were left homeless and destitute. The children who had always known a comfortable and cultured life suffered from lack of food and cold. So they were leading a comfortable life, but after their parents were no more, these people were suffering. They had no food. For months they lived in a shelter they built with their own hands amidst the rubble. So whatever was taken away from them, they themselves built their house with their own hands. Somehow or the other they tried to build a shelter for. Then for 3 years the Germans ruled the city. The boys grew to hate the Germans. So they didn't like Germans because of the war only they lost their father. So they didn't like the Germans ruling. When the resistance movement began secretly, they were among the first to join. So when they started opposing the government, these boys were first to join them, to join hands with them. When the war was over and there was peace at last, they came back to their beloved sister. Lucia, who had earlier been training as a singer, had developed tuberculosis of the spine. So actually, she too was been training herself to become a singer, but uh, uh, she has developed a tuberculosis, and that's the reason she couldn't anymore move into that particular profession. The boys did not give up. They brought her to the hospital. Lucia had been in the hospital for 12 months and was making good progress. One day she would walk and sing again. The boys, in the meantime, struggled hard to pay for her treatment. So this was their only hope, and they thought she would be all right one day. The narrator went back outside and waited until the boys came out. Then he drove them back to the city. He did not let them realize that he knew their secret, though he was very impressed by their devotion. War had not broken their spirit. Their selfless action brought a new nobility to human life and gave promise of a greater hope for the human society. So, this is what actually your two gentlemen of Verona is rightly all about.